Hi everyone, it's Shabari here and welcome to the World Vegan Spring Market Easter special show. And have I got a treat for you today? I have some very special guests for the show who are veteran vegans of between 30 and 80 years, including 2 lifelong vegans who actually make me look like a baby at just 25 years vegan. That's actually half my life. So between us all, we are nearly 500 years vegan between us, actually. So I am delighted to introduce Donna Zeigfinger from Washington, D.C., who's been vegan for 40 years. And then we have Jenny Rainbow from London at 32 years vegan. And then we have Alison Plormer from Brighton, who has been vegan for 30 years. Then we have Nicola Baker from Cumbria, originally from New Zealand, who has been vegan for 30 years. And then we have Andrew Barnes from Brighton, who is a lifelong vegan at 43 years old. And then we have Angie Wright from Brighton as well, and she has been vegan for 57 years. And then we have Dr. Roger Yates from Dublin, who's been vegan for 44 years. And then we're hopefully going to be joined by the legendary Jon Cross, who has been vegan for a whopping 80 years. And then Ronnie Lee is also going to be joining us a little bit later. He's from Kidderminster and he's been vegan for 51 years. And my first question is, what has been the main difference between when you first became vegan and now? So I'm going to go to you first, Roger.
Okay, well, I'll unmute myself. Hello, everyone. It's great to be here. Thank you so much for the invite. Obviously, people will say the fact that there's quite a lot of vegan-friendly foods around now. Although I tend not to emphasize that too much, in the sense that there's always been lots of vegan-friendly foods. If you think about the basis of veganism being fruit and veg and that kind of stuff. I think kind of socially there's been changes. I know that when I went vegan, and I'm sure a lot of the panelists will echo this, is that a lot of people couldn't even pronounce the word vegan, let alone anything else. So I think there's a lot of kind of vegan curious people now. So I think it's kind of entered the mainstream to the extent that people just are not totally baffled about the entire idea now. I still think that there's a lot of people who don't appreciate that veganism is a philosophy, and they still think it's a diet, and so that's some kind of correction work that we've got to do. But in terms of general kind of availability and out there-ness, there's a lot more of it now. That's the general difference, I guess.
So my next question is, what has been the biggest challenge socially as a vegan? So I'm going to go to you again, Roger, for that.
Planning ahead was always the key to it, wasn't it? You found out where people were going, and then you would ring ahead and find out whether they have plant-based options, that kind of stuff. I think that's still what vegans do, but I think you're much more likely to get, yes, don't worry, we can cater for you type answers now. So I think that's probably it. I do know that, as a sociologist, I do know that a lot of people have a lot of problems with their family. And so that's one social side of things, which can be very painful for vegans. Now, I was lucky in the sense that my sister went vegan about the same time as me. My mother went vegan kind of in the 60s. Didn't have any choice. I was doing the shopping at the time. I think the family situation can be very painful for some people. I escaped that, but it is something that vegans report over and over. I think it's because really you want the people you love to understand your ethics, and you also want to feel that they're open to new ideas and that kind of stuff. The irony of it, sociologically, is that you might be the wrong person to talk to your family about veganism on the grounds that there's a lot of family baggage and stuff. And so, often people don't just hear a message. So a message from a stranger would possibly be better received than a message from a sibling, for example. And another problem with the family situation is that generally speaking, it's usually the elders who pass on moral lessons to the younger members of family. In veganism, it's often the other way around. And so you get the younger members trying to say to those members of family who are older, oh, this morality and you're not living up to it and stuff. And that doesn't go down too well. So I think family for a lot of people, but I was lucky.
Thank you very much, Jenny. So my next question is that what would you say to those who are wanting to go vegan but haven't made the final jump yet? And I'm going to go to you, Roger.
Okay. Well, we've heard a lot about food, as you always do when you get vegans together. But we need to remember that veganism is a philosophy of animal liberation. It's a radical philosophy. In fact, it's even revolutionary. I study the writings of the founders of the vegan social movement, and it's incredible their vision of the world. So I would suggest for people to find out the kind of whys of veganism or animal rights, even, and then the how of it becomes very easy. If you're stuck on finding the vegan option for this and the vegan option for that, as soon as you understand the why, which is the ethics, then you kind of slalom past the little problems, because those problems diminish. They're not as big anymore, in the sense that, even back in the day, if I had a bland meal, for example, I would say, well, okay, that was bland, but I haven't killed anyone. And so the ethics tend to drive things. And so this is why a lot of we hear that a lot of people going into veganism through the kind of health gateway, they're the ones who tend to drop off if they don't engage with the ethics and fairly quickly. It's the ethical vegans, which really is just code for vegans. The ethical vegans tend to stay vegan. People who do it for other reasons, if they don't engage with the ethics, it can be a real problem. So I would suggest that. Engage with the ethics, and then you'll know why we're vegan.
Jon's father was Leslie Cross, who was a pioneer of the Vegan Society. So a Facebook user has asked, Jon, how do you think your dad would feel about progress of the movement if he was still with us today?
Well, I don't think he'd be satisfied, because not all so-called vegans are vegan in the philosophical sense, which to him, veganism was a philosophy of life, which I agree with.
This is the first time I've actually met a vegan of 80 years. I've only been vegan for 25 years, so I'm actually the baby of the whole group. so yes, I can fully understand that because you've been vegan all your life for 80 years, you wouldn't know anything else. And
that's right.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you so much, Jon. So my next question is, we've just got a couple more questions to go. What was Easter like in those days when you first became vegan? And I'm going to go to you, Roger. 44 years ago for you.
Yes, I'm a bit of a baby, aren't I, compared with John? Hi, John. It's good to see you again.
All right. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Good man. Good man.
Easter. Well, I don't know. You see, I mean, like we could talk about obviously all those kind of ritual celebrations. Easter being one of them, and obviously for the States, you've got, you know, Thanksgiving and all that kind of stuff. And of course, I think most of the time vegans just absent themselves away from it, or if they engage with it, it's kind of as a demonstrator. If I was thinking about holiday time, I mean, I came into the movement as a SAB, so it would be a time of increased campaigning and activity, you know, rather than actually engage. And another thing, I think I'm a bit stubborn, really, in the sense that I don't like to be told what to do by society. And so, yeah. So when you've got this kind of like a holiday and you must do, you know, if I see a sign saying must see movie, it puts me off. You know, it's
must have gadget.
It's just a kind of personality quirk of mine. And because I was a projectionist for a long time, I had a bit of an upside down world in the sense that we didn't have weekends. In fact, weekends were our busiest time.
Yeah.
And so our weekend was in midweek. And also, when there was a holiday that everybody went on, especially in those days when people went en masse from factories and stuff, we were working, you know. And so, in that sense, I suppose I had an unconventional life in that sense, in terms of my work experience. Maybe that helped me think unconventionally. Perhaps it did, and that's no bad thing if it did. So
the thing is, Roger, Easter is a religious thing. It's absolutely nothing to do with veganism. It's a religious festival which I don't follow. So it's just another weekend to me. It was never anything different.
My final question to each of you is, what message would you like to leave the viewers at home with? And I'm going to come to you, Roger.
Right, well, a lot of it will be echoing what Ronnie said, but I'd also repeat myself in the sense of engaging with the philosophy. And so I would pick out people like Professor Tom Regan, who is the originator of rights-based animal rights. And so he's kind of one of the kind of theorists who take rights seriously. And so we've got a situation where he would argue that other animals are rights bearers, which means that our use of them are rights violations. So it's not really based on things like reducing suffering or cruelty. It's a kind of stronger thing about they have rights and we don't have the right to violate their rights. So I would point them in that kind of direction, because again, once you know the reason why, then you'll find a way of doing it. In terms of what Ronnie was saying, then the emphasis needs to be on the grassroots. And I've always argued that the funding of the movement should take the grassroots more seriously and fund it better than it does. Funding is not the be end and end all of it, but it does help in terms of getting stuff, even vehicles and this kind of stuff. So I think that the funding structure of the movement needs to be looked at a little bit. And so then we might be able to get what Ronnie wants, which is vegan education everywhere and all the time. And of course, if we had that, I think that would be much better, especially on that kind of community level, because then people would be able to talk to the local vegans. The local vegans would know the issues. I mean, it's all very well for, you know, somebody in London or in Kent sending leaflets to Scotland, but they don't know the situation, whereas the local people do. So there is that kind of issue that grassroots local campaigning, to me at least, is superior, because I subscribe to this idea of DIY culture, and that means DIY campaigning as well.
Yeah, I think it's important that vegans have friends who are vegans. And that's it, really.
But thank you very much, Angie. And over to you, John. What is your final message to our viewers at home?
I would try if I was to go out, I think I would try and encourage them to understand the philosophical side of it, because I would estimate probably 60 or 70% of those that say they're vegan aren't. They don't follow that. They might follow a diet, but other than that, they don't follow anything else. Of those that I know, I don't have any vegan friends. I'm not aware. I mean, I do know some vegans, not locally, but I mean, for instance, Adrian at Planel Foods.
Hey, John, I'm your friend.
You're
not local, though, Rod.
No. Thank you, Roger. That's very nice to know.
Hi, Debbie. Yes, if we don't speak up and educate others, who will? Somebody mentioned the £1 million, or maybe dollars, the 1 million offered to Trump and co would go a long way in grassroots. Well, these people, they're rich enough already. Even if you offered them $1 million or £1 million, I don't know that they would go vegan. But yeah, you know, maybe. Well, we could try. We could try, certainly.
Well, we've got to remember that they weren't even being asked to go vegan. They were asked to eat plants for a month. So it was a bit of a strange idea in the first place. But there are some strange ideas floating around in terms of campaigning. But certainly the best use of our funds would be worth looking at, I would think.
I don't think it's a question of money. I think it's a question of changing their views.
Oh, yeah, well, I said that before, John, but, you know, in terms of, say, what we do in Dublin, which is very kind of visual street stuff, and we let people come to us, we're not in their face.
Best way.
But, you know, we've got at least 12 of these banners. They all cost €100 each and stuff. So a bit of money, and because it's such a big thing, we need a vehicle. So a little bit of money helps.
Oh, of course. No, I mean... being vegan is nothing to do with having money. That's what I was trying to get at.
Yeah. We'd agree with that.
Yeah.
Don't fall out with me now, John. I'm
We've just become friends.
My show.
You're his only friend. You're his only vegan friend, so you can't fall out.
No intention of that. Oh, absolutely not. Lovely fellow.
Oh, well, thank you all so much. Big shout out to our panelists, Donna Zeigfinger, Jenny Rainbow, Alison Plormer, Nicola Baker, Andrew Barnes, Angie Wright, Roger Yates, Jon Cross, and Ronnie Lee. You've been absolutely amazing. So thank you so much.